Hi, my name is Matt Jones, and I'm the Oil Compliance and Enforcement Subsection Chief. I oversee the 4 full-time inspectors, the operator training program run by Suzanne Piccone, and any documents that get issued by an enforcement section go directly through me. In this section, we'll be talking about registration and permitting. In this session, we will be talking about the following topics that relate to registration and permitting. What is regulated in New Hampshire? When should I register the tank system? What is a permit to operate? What is a tank certificate? Can a tank be reused? And finally, what is a waiver? What tanks are regulated in New Hampshire? We regulate motor fuels, waste oil, motor oil, and hazardous materials in tanks that are greater than 110 gallons. This includes gasoline, diesel, kerosene, jet fuel, any tanks that are used as generators. These are what we call our federally regulated tanks. These are the ones that we are required to inspect at least once every 3 years. We also regulate non-residential heating oil or commercial heating oil in tanks that are greater than 1,100 gallons. Generally, these are schools, hospitals, other municipal buildings that use heating oil to heat the building. We would also regulate any size heating oil tank at an already regulated facility. An example of this would be a gas station that has gasoline and diesel tanks that are regulated, but then also have a smaller heating oil tank to heat the garage, maybe only 500 gallons. Because of the regulated gas and diesel tanks, this 500-gallon tank comes into the regulations. As a side note, please be aware that there are drinking water underground storage tanks in use in New Hampshire. These are not under our particular program, but if you have questions regarding these, we recommend contacting the Drinking Water and Groundwater Bureau. Our registration form acts as a way to provide us information regarding your facility, such as ownership changes, equipment changes, substance changes, and others. If there are these changes, we do need this to be submitted on our department form, seen to the right here, and also can be found on our website. If there's an ownership or equipment change, we need the form within 10 days of that change. Included with that form, we'd also need a statement of training that declares the A and B operator for the new owner. Please be aware that as a new owner, you cannot operate a facility without designating the Class A and B operators to DES. If you're a new or substantially modified system, therefore you've gone through the plan review process followed by inspections by our plan review staff, then the registration form will be given to the inspectors upon the final inspection and authorization to use that facility. If there's a change in use at the facility, we want to get the form at least 30 days prior. Main reason for this is for compatibility. We want to make sure that the new substance that you're adding in is going to be compatible with the USD system as designed. If it is compatible, less likely that a release will happen due to incompatibility, keeping New Hampshire's environment nice and clean. Bottom line, no transfer of substance without the registration form on file. So be sure to follow these timelines if changes occur at your facility. Transfer of facility ownership tends to be one of the difficult parts where we don't get the information on the registration in a timely manner. Please remember, as the buyer, you want to submit an amended registration form and statement of training form within 10 days of the transfer. As the seller, you want to notify that buyer of compliance status, and any documents you may have you want to transfer over to that new buyer. This will help in making sure that this process and this transfer of ownership goes a lot smoother and no red flags come up. Every regulated facility in New Hampshire is required to have a permit to operate. This must be a valid permit, example being on the right-hand side of the screen. In order to get a permit, you must be in compliance with our UST rules, and once you have the permit, it needs to be permanently displayed at the facility. We highly recommend posting it next to the leak monitor system, your Veeder-Root, Omnitech, Pneumacator, or Petrometer. Makes it very easy for our inspectors to find, and less likely that you'll get dinged for this particular deficiency during a 3-year compliance inspection. Our current permit is good for what we call the life of the facility. This means that as long as the ownership doesn't change or the registered name of the facility doesn't change, This permit will be good for as long as you need it. Finally, when an ownership change does occur and we receive a registration form, a new permit will be issued, assuming the facility is in compliance. Upon review, if items are found that show the facility as being non-compliant, a list of those items will be issued to the owner so that they can address them and provide paperwork to place them back into compliance. Once we have received documentation that shows compliance with these items, a new permit to operate will be issued in the new owner and registered name. One potential enforcement action that we may take is suspending or revoking your permit to operate. This is going to be a non-compliance license action that lists the existing violations, a notice of proposed actions, which could be administrative orders, administrative fines, or referral to the AG's office. We'll have a hearing to discuss the facts of the case. We can also meet informally to discuss the facts. Maybe there's information that you have that we were not aware of that can put you back in compliance and get that permit to operate back to you. No matter the decision, you can appeal that final decision to our board. Currently, we're inspecting all of our facilities a minimum of once every 3 years. After the inspection is completed, you'll get one of two letters. The first would be you're in compliance and we'll see you in 3 years. The second will be you're out of compliance and the list of the following deficiencies that need to be corrected within 45 days. 30 days to fix the deficiencies and another 15 to submit paperwork. Following the 45 days, we're currently referring all of our facilities to enforcement. The current enforcement process is sending out an intent to red tag letter and letter of deficiency. This letter will give 10 days to fix the intent to red tag items or 30 days to fix the letter of deficiency items. Following the 10-day mark, if the deficiencies have not been corrected, myself or other staff within our section will go out to the facility and put red tags on the tanks or tanks that are still out of compliance. At that time, the remainder of the fuel in the tanks can be used, but you cannot receive a delivery until the tank systems are back in compliance and the red tags have been removed. To see currently list of red tag facilities in New Hampshire, you can visit the following link. Bottom line, if you do get the letter that says you're out of compliance or it's an intent to red tag letter, give us a call. Let us know what you're doing. Have that line of communication wide open. Makes it very easy for us to get the things fixed or help you get those things fixed so we can get you back in compliance and keep your business operational. Another potential enforcement action that we may take is retraining for operator training. Are we going to ask you to come back to retrain because you failed to post your permit to operate? No, we're not going to do that. We're specifically looking at items that could cause a release to your system. Maybe sensors are lifted up, or we get out to your facility, we look in the drop tube, and there's something blocking the overfill device. Or potentially there's gasoline in the interstitial space of your tank system, or gasoline in the sumps of your secondary containment for your piping. These are all items that could potentially lead to a catastrophic release if not acted on appropriately, and notification provided to DES of what's going on at your facility. In these cases, you may see a retraining for your facility for your A and B operators. What else needs to be posted at your facility? Well, we know your Class C operator list needs to be posted, your facility response guidelines, your permit to operate. The fourth one would be your tank certificate. Again, highly recommend all of these postings put in the same spot, next to your leak monitor system if possible. Makes it very easy for our inspectors to find, less likely you'll get dinged for that deficiency during an inspection. For the tank certificate, it is provided by the owner, and again, posted at the facility. This is going to list the standard of design by which the tank was manufactured, the year it was manufactured, the dimensions and capacity, the name of the manufacturer, the date of installation, and the percentage by volume of any additives. This is specifically for hazardous materials. Who do you think this information would be good for? Our inspectors need to have it, part of our rules, but who else? If you're thinking emergency response personnel, you're spot on. If you're also thinking about delivery drivers, you're also spot on. Both of these groups can use this information provided on the tank certificate to better respond to emergencies or potentially avoid a bad delivery. It happens at least once a year where someone drops diesel into gas or gas into diesel. It's going to cause your owner quite a few problems, and also your customers. So to avoid those, I could also recommend putting a few of these around the facility so that everyone is aware of what's in those tanks and which tanks contain what. With USD installations costing quite a bit of money, one way you can save some money is by reusing USTs. You do need to follow the current UST rules to reinstall, so you can't install single wall tanks anymore in New Hampshire, so it would have to be at least a double wall tank. You cannot store water or food products in these tanks, as we don't want them mixing with petroleum. And finally, the tank needs to be recertified by the manufacturer. Usually a good look at the outer shell of the tank, potentially a look at the inner shell, along with a potential tightness test to show the tank is tight, can contain that product, and less likely to have a release to New Hampshire's environment. Another potential way you can save some money is by going through the waiver process. A waiver can be submitted for any one of our UST rules under Env-Or 400. Currently, the requirements for granting a waiver are as follows. It will not result in an adverse impact on the environment, public health, or public safety, and it's consistent with the intent and purpose of the rule being waived. The section option would be the benefit to the public or environment is outweighed by the economic and operational consequences of strict compliance with the rule. We have seen waivers for a few things in the past. Common ones are for setbacks, maybe to surface waters or public water supplies. The other one that we've seen quite a bit is for an overfill device, specifically an overfill device that is only meant to be used on above ground storage tanks. We've allowed use for it on underground storage tanks via the waiver process, with a couple extra steps that need to be followed. Currently, waivers do get submitted to our section, and we will review them and provide our comments. Following that, it will go up the chain of command, up to the top of our division, to our director, Mike Wimsatt. Eventually, we will sit down with Mike to discuss the waiver. Even if we think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, he could see it differently and easily say no. But Mike will be the one who makes the final call of yay or nay on approval of the waiver. So in summary, what is regulated in New Hampshire? Motor oils, waste oil, motor oil, and hazardous materials in tanks that are greater than 110 gallons. Your gasoline, diesel, kerosene, jet fuel, generators. We also regulate heating oil tanks that are commercial use that are greater than 1,100 gallons. And please remember, if you have that smaller heating oil tank, it's potentially a regulated tank depending on the other regulated tanks at your facility. When you should register your tank systems? And remember, if you're buying a facility, we want that registration within 10 days of the transfer of the property. If you're changing the substance, we want to get that registration 30 days prior, specifically for compatibility reasons. Your permit to operate, again, good for the life of the facility, needs to be posted at the facility, along with your tank certificate that needs to be posted. Put these documents next to the leak monitor system, less likely that you'll get dinged for that deficiency during a 3-year compliance inspection. You can reuse tanks, which is going to be a way we can save some money out there. But you have to follow the current UST rules to reinstall. You have to get that tank certified. Another way you can save some money is the waiver process. You can get the waiver for any one of our UST rules, but remember, Mike Wimsatt, our director, is going to be the one that makes the final call on that approval of that waiver.